Good morning, students of class 9. Myself, J. Kumar, for chemistry paper. Students, today I took my first class on Zoom meeting. So many of you joined today, but many of you did not join me. Don't worry for that. For you, I am going to upload my one video on YouTube and you can see and be benefited from there. Students, first of all, chemistry paper will be of 25 marks, and in these 25 marks we have to study in all four chapters. So our first chapter is matter in our surrounding. Students, today we will learn what is matter, what are its characteristics, property, and what is the classification of matter on the basis of its physical and chemical properties. But one thing, students, I would like to tell you, hereby in first chapter we shall learn about matter only on the basis of its physical property, and in second chapter we shall learn about the classification of matter on its chemical property. So, without waste of time, I am going to start the chapter. First of all, I am going to explain before you the definition of matter. Students, definition of matter has been given that anything which takes some space and has some mass is known as matter. This is the simple definition. Anything which takes some space and has some mass is known as matter. Student, this is the simple definition of matter. In example of matter, you can write all those things around you which can you see and feel. For example, table. Table comes under the category of matter because it takes a space and has some mass. Also, your book is example of matter. Air around us is also example of matter. Pen, pencil, and so many other things around you which you can see are the example of matters. Students, one thing I would like to tell here, there are certain things which do not come under the category of matter. So you can note down, for example, a smell. A smell is not a matter. Also, love is not a matter. Hate is not a matter. And light too is not a matter. I remember one time some student asked me, is light a matter? Students, in my view, light is not matter because light is a form of energy. So it does not come under the category of matter. So these many things are not example of matter. In addition to these things, whatever things present around you are matter. Now, students, I am going to explain before you the Characteristics of matter. Characteristics of matter. Students, long back, people thought that a matter is continuous, like a solid block of wood. But with advancement of science, from various experiments, it became clear that matter is not continuous. It is particulate. It means a matter is made up of particles. It has particulate nature. So, in the characteristics of matter, you shall write the first point. Matter is particulate. Particulate. It means a matter is made up of particles. So many experiment, so many activity explains or suggest that the matter is particulate. I will explain you some activity from which you can conclude that a matter is particulate. But later on, second characteristics, these particles of matter are very small. So you can write particles of matter are very small. Third one is between the particles of matter there are certain gaps which are said to be interparticle spaces. It means particles of matter have empty spaces. Empty spaces. And note down, first of all, note down these 3 points and then I am going to tell you the next one. And number 4 characteristics, particles of matter are in continuous motion. Continuous motion. This is the fourth characteristics of matter and its particles. And next one is particles of matter attract each other. And that's all. These are the characteristics of matter and its particles. Now, student, I am going to explain before you some activity from which you can conclude that the particles, matter is made up of particles, and between their particles there are empty spaces, they attract each other and they are in continuous motion. So first of all, note it down and then I am going to start the next topic. Now students, I told you matter is particulate. For this, we will have one activity. Okay? Okay. Now, students, you take a glass filled with half of water. Half of water. And now, with the help of nail polish, you have to mark the level of water. Mark the level of water inside the glass. After that, you have to add 1 teaspoonful either salt or sugar in it. After some time, what you noticed? Two things after some time we noticed. First thing, the salt or sugar disappears in this water. Second thing we notice, the level of water inside the glass does not rise. From this activity, two questions arise. First question, where do these particles of salt or sugar went to inside the water? And second question is, why the level of water inside the glass does not rise? Students, let me explain the answer of these two questions. Students, this activity, to explain this activity, first of all, you think inside the glass there is water, and water is a matter, so it has been made up of particles. It has been made up of particles. Sugar or salt is also matter. When the particles of sugar or salt goes inside the water, they divide themselves into a smaller and a smaller and a smaller particles and take the space between the particles of water. As these particles do not take additional space in the water of the glass, that's why the level of water inside the glass does not rise after dissolving salt or sugar in it. And students, from this activity, we can conclude that the matter is particulate. There are some another activity also who suggest that matter is particulate. One another activity I am going to put before you. Take two test tubes. Take two test tubes. And in one test tubes, you have to take the vapors of bromine water, vapors of bromine water, which is red brown. And one test tube you have take and you have to keep that empty test tube over it like this. After some time, what you notice? After some time, you notice that the top test tube also becomes red brown. So question arises, why the test tube of upper side becomes red brown? So students, let me explain this. In the down test tube, you have taken vapor of bromine water, and upper test tube is empty. It means it has only air, colorless air. So when that empty test tube is taken over this test tube, these vapors of bromine water slowly rises up and get mixed up with the particles of air present in the upper test tubes. So this suggests that particles, this suggests that कि matter is particulate, and that's why particles of bromic vapor mix with the particles of air of the empty test tube. So these two activity suggest that matter is particulate. Okay, thank you. And next, second characteristics is between the particles of matter there are empty spaces. Students, also these characteristics of matter can be understood by these two activities. Due to empty spaces between the particles of water, the particles of salt or sugar take the space and maintain the level of water inside the glass. So this also became clear that between the particles of matter there are empty spaces. Now third one, particles of matter are in continuous motion. Let me explain this. For this, take two incense sticks and burn them. One of them should be lighted, and lighted incense sticks you put in the corner of a room, and unlighted incense stick put in another room. After some time, what you notice, the stick which is burned, a smell spread in the entire room quickly than that room in which the unlighted incense stick is put. It means that particles of matter are in continuous motion, and this motion varies from matter to matter. Let me explain. When you burn the candlestick, incense stick, the smell from the stick are in the gaseous state, and in gaseous state motion between the particles are high, so those particles spread quickly in the room. And in solid state motion is restricted, not easily they are movable. That's why they take time to spread in the room. But they also spread. It takes some times. So from this, you can understand that between the particles of matter are in constant motion. Next one is particles of matter are very, very small. Let me explain this. Question arises कि how much smaller particles of matter are. For this, let's have one activity. Take one beaker, and in the beaker you have to take 100 ml of water. Now in this 100 ml of water you have to put one crystal of colored salt, one crystal of colored salt known as KMNO4, potassium permanganate. After some time, what you notice? You notice that the color of water in the beaker gets changed. Now take another beaker, and in this beaker you take 90 ml of water and 10 ml solution from first beaker you have to add in second beaker. In second beaker, when you add 10 ml solution, also the color of water gets changed. Take third beaker and also 90 ml water in this, and 10 ml solution from the second beaker you add to the third beaker. What you see in third beaker, water also gets changed. However, the intensity of color varies from beaker to beaker, but it gets changed. From these activities, you can conclude that particles of matter are very small. You can imagine one single crystal of potassium permanganate changes the color of 1000 milliliter of water easily. It means a single crystal of potassium permanganate contains millions and billions of smaller particles. And whenever these particles go in fresh water, they broke down into smaller particles and spread in the water, and that's why the color of water gets changed. So this activity suggests that particles of matter are very small. Now at last topic, particles of matter attract each other. Students, to understand this, take three things. One, a solid chalk, and second, one ice cube, and third, an iron nail. Now try to break them and tell me in which case you are able to break them easily. Certainly your answer will be chalk. Why? This suggests that in chalk, between the particles of matter, there is a weak force of attraction than solid ice cube and then solid iron nail. So this suggests that particles of matter attract each other, and these attraction of particles are known as interparticles force of attraction. And these are the topic of today. Thank you very much.